Well, it's official, people. We finally made it. The Viera can now wear hats. Good job, Square. It only took you 6 years after their introduction to fix that.
The fuck? I thought this was a story review.
Hey, I'm getting there. Piss off. So yeah, patch 7.3. The final chapter of Dawntrail, the undisputed worst expansion of the whole series. We are finally done, folks. We survived this trash heap, with only some of our sanity deleted like those poor endless bastards.
Excellent work, man! Let's hang up a banner!
There were some twists and turns, and only a few, moments that genuinely impressed me. And the rest was, well, pretty much par for the course. But we'll get there. Obviously, spoilers for Dawntrail through patch 7.3 lie ahead. And to cover our bases, anything FF14 related as well. Anything beyond this point is up for grabs. Now, last patch, we saw a new villain orchestrating events from behind the scenes, Calyx, and he wants only one thing, the interdimensional key, the bridge between realities. His key to bleeding the other reflections of Ether to feed his ambitions. How dastardly. But first, we need to give these Oblivion NPCs some character development, right before we kill them. I am not joking, they did that. A big complaint of mine was the blatant lack of character diversity. All we got in 7.0 was Wooklama. And Wooklama. And, even more, Wooklama. Even fake Sphene from 7.0 was a mirror image of the furry twat. And post 7.0 hasn't done much better, to be frank. So here and now, they decided these guys need personalities. Geode in particular, a gruff rando who had left zero impression thus far. And right when they made him interesting, they turned him into a steaming pile of cocaine. And I'm all out of straws.
That's rude.
Now was not the time to make these people complex. 7.0 was where that should have started, and subsequent appearances adds a little more up until their death. It's basic character building, it's not hard. FF14 has done this before. Sorry if I'm being blunt, but I can't feel bad for this guy getting yanked when he was a literal background character until just this moment. It's not that none of them could have been intriguing, it's not even that their backgrounds are stupid or pointless. They're nothing special, but that's just fine. You can't make people suddenly care about someone. They tried that with Wook and it ended in disaster. The same goes for Shale. She's had more screen time, but not enough to be interested in her now. The only positive I can say was the trap sprung to kill Geode was a decent twist. That got a small applause from yours truly. And then I took it away, because this clever trick never gets used again, for no reason. Also, Geo threw his gun at a bitchbot, leaving him disarmed when he gets ambushed. Not a smart move, my guy. Yeah. Another recurring theme with Dawntrail is how stupid everybody behaves to maximize the drama or effectiveness of the plot. There's a lot of that in this patch, be forewarned.
You might be the worst soldiers I have ever met.
Hey, I take offense at that. What do you mean might be?
Apparently, the machines are targeting those without regulators, harvesting their ether to fuel Calyx's new endless operation. If they won't commit to his system, they're basically crops, I suppose. One question though, he's collecting the corporeal ether from their bodies, and people on the source have much higher concentrations since every rejoining fuses with the source. Calyx is a smart guy, or they tried to make him look smart. It should have been easy to see how the source, like Tural, is a prime location for ether harvesting. He mentions needing several percent of the Alexandrian population to sustain the endless for centuries. Harvesting the Turali would cut this rate down by a factor of 7. That's a lot less work. And with the innumerous populations that are small, remote, and virtually unguarded, getting the requisite energy without drawing too much attention to himself should have been easy. I get within the Everkeep, he has more control, but he also has far less ground to hide within, and more resistance to his plans. For a guy operating from the shadows, this should have been a no-brainer. His stupidity was an issue in 7.2, 7.3 doubles down on that. You'll see what I mean. So yeah, they wasted our time with a medial twist and pointless characters, which is frustrating, because there's a new character on the roster who could have used more of the story's focus. The real Sphene. She was the only major positive from 7.2. Well, here in 7.3, she just copies most of her earlier sentiments about defending Alexandria, debating her place in the world, etc. Again, like the Oblivion members, these qualities alone aren't bad. The lack of anything else is what kills it. For example, we see her with a grimoire. She can fight now. Sphene can even participate in the dungeon and trial, which is neat, except this chick was on ice for 400 years, and she just decided to take up the arcane last patch. There's been no training, no learning curve of any kind. This was the time to invest in her, to see her development beyond her personal thoughts and feelings. Getting to explore her limits was the ideal way to build upon her main concerns. If we see Sphene struggle to fight, let's say, then her concerns about her place in Alexandria, whether she's suited to be a part of this strange new world she awoke in, those hang-ups can be reinforced because now she truly seems to have nothing of value to offer. Both struggles are amplified, clearer. It adds to her character. Instead, she's just fine. No struggles with casting spells, no hesitation in the heat of the moment. It was another missed opportunity wasted on less important elements. Sorry, Geode, you were a solid mofo. It just wasn't the right time for you, buddy. The only Sphene moment that shined for me was right before the dungeon, when she's called out as being Queen Sphene, because it turns out a cheap Sidious cosplay makes for a lousy disguise. Who the hell knew? What made this fun was how everybody basically calls himself out while trying to remain incognito, and they embarrassed themselves in the process. It wasn't anything amazing, but it got a smile out of me. I won't deny that. Next up was our crew hunting down Calyx. We investigate an abandoned research facility hidden within Solution 9. How many is that now? I think every patch has had a secret lab. Yep, every patch has. Anyways, we must solve several puzzles to proceed through the lab, accessing higher areas. Think of it like Resident Evil for dummies. The puzzles were pretty easy, little left to the imagination. Sure, it's better than standing around and talking, as Dawntrail has become infamous for, but still way too handholdy. That's coming from a guy who sucks ass at puzzles. We see more history about preservation, learning that, thanks to Calyx, it was pretty fucked up even 400 years ago. There had always been obsession, corruption, and abuse plaguing the institution. It reinforces the notion Calyx has always been a monster. I do appreciate that no attempt was made to make him misunderstood or sympathetic. There's been a lot of that in 14 lately. Him being a straight-up douchebag is refreshing. We also learn that the key he's after is only the crystalline structure inside. The rest of it is a mere containment vessel. Now, between that and the, twist at the end speculates just where this artifact may originate from. Not as though there's a lot of options. I'll bitch about that at the end.
Okay, dude. Looking forward to that.
Hoping to find me by tracing security data? That will not be necessary.
Ah geez, the guy who circumvented the entire system has circumvented the entire system to get the drop on us. What a twist. Probably for the best. If an infiltration mission went this smoothly without being a setup, I'd be even more disappointed. Sorry, Shale. I know you wanted to smite the little shit. I appreciate the temper. I finally feel represented in this game. Now then, what do you think Calyx is gonna do? Threaten to turn the system on everybody again? Kill more innocents? Collect their ether? Maybe let more powerful creatures loose, terrorizing the city and drawing our attention away from hunting him down? None of the above. He, being an endless, is basically ones and zeros. He tells us precisely where his data core is, opens the way to it, and challenges us to follow after if we want a chance to stop him. You know, I've been asking a recurring question ever since my first Dawntrail video. What the fuck is this? Here, you have a villain whose location is hidden and cut off from the outside world, meaning the threat of counterattack is non-existent. He has control over an innocent population he can terrorize to his heart's content, forcing his quarry to surrender to his demands or see thousands of innocents, including women and children, slaughtered. He has spent centuries looking for a way to retrieve the key. All Calyx had to do was bide his time. A few months at most, and we would have been worn down into giving him the key. The Scions are not unfeeling monsters. We would relent eventually when the toll became too much. Though our recent exploits have me questioning that, I digress. Even if we use the key to lure him into our own trap, that would still present Calyx with the opportunity he's been waiting for. Instead, he pins himself on Google Maps and says, "Come on in."
And what could go wrong? Oh shit.
I have complained about Calyx being a dipshit, and this is the writers validating that complaint. And it's not the only example. Him losing the key in the first place is a conundrum we've been wondering about since his introduction. He was in control of the fake Sphene. He controlled everything. This isn't the type of person to leave things to chance. Until he does. Repeatedly. For no reason. 7.3 did provide an explanation. Of sorts.
That disaster was a miscalculation on my part. As her end drew near, Sphene and her restructured memories had become one with the terminal's control systems.
That's it? He lost control of his Finbot for a brief time, letting her hand off the most important item in his possession. His whole plan hinges on the key. and he let his guard down due to a mere miscalculation in what his automaton was and was not capable of. Alright. It's a weak-ass explanation, but on its own, no big deal. At least, he doesn't have a habit of making stupid decisions due to his ego getting the better of him. Like, leading us to his data core, where he's the most vulnerable. And he had the security systems of Solution 9 tapped. He could follow us anywhere, lead us anywhere. So this final fight could have happened at the cafe if he wanted to. Not to mention he tolerated Zerulja for reasons I cannot comprehend. Now maybe he wanted an imposing figure to lead the army, but any machine could have done the job. Alexandria's war machine doesn't hurt for intimidating weaponry. Zoral was a loose cannon, unstable, unreliable. Somebody like that would upset whatever calculations Calyx had made. It was a risk he didn't need to tolerate. Fake Sphene having any sense of self when she was a tool for his plans doesn't make sense, not even after our fight within the terminal. We saw for ourselves he could make one completely subservient to his wishes. That would eliminate any sense of self, of rebellion, ensuring complete loyalty, no loose ends, no variables altering the equation. Calyx is portrayed as intelligent and crafty. These actions in the game paint him as reckless and stupid, and now he's leading us. A person he's underestimated numerous times right to his Achilles heel, painting a giant-ass target on his forehead. For no reason! The only excuse we get is how he was overconfident, especially given the progress of other collaborators we'll discuss at the end as well. This rationale is stupid and contrived. The writers obviously couldn't think of a smarter way to corner Calyx. You know, since he's so smart he couldn't possibly be duped, so they had him dupe himself. Much better, guys. You know, we had Cryo's earring possessing those special codes from her parents, members of Preservation. That, along with Golulja's authority, ought to have been enough to get some kind of drop on the guy. Everything afterwards can play out as it does. That would have been acceptable. Defenders might try to counter. The core is shielded. He was confident it would hold. Based on what? The several times he's been wrong? The man is in no position to be taking gambles. Absolute certainty should be his priority. And he botched that. Now, I will admit, the trial itself, how it's set up, the twist, I did appreciate this a bit more. The citizens with neo-regulators have been pushed to the brink of madness over the fear of death. With the regulators to manipulate and link them all together, they create the perfect condition for primal summoning. Only instead of a deity, it's a concept that he manifests, powered by the considerable lightning ether that surges through the city. The fear of death itself, Necron. Alright, I never played 9, so I don't know how well this is handled. I'm not a fan of all the nostalgia baiting, but that's just me. FF9 fans, let me know how you felt about this. Bringing back primal summoning was a nice touch. Not since 610 Endwalker has a primal been a threat. It's a nice callback to better times. Even more sadistic, the fact this creature is fueled by fear of death, killing it only amplifies that condition, reviving the beast over and over. So it's a battle of attrition. However, how much power exactly is this thing consuming? Because Calyx blacked out an entire section of the city when he casted Soldier Bolt last patch. That only incapacitated us for a minute or so. This monster is a clear upgrade, yet we see no outages around Solution 9, no hint there are power limits to its existence. This is a flaw in the continuity. You would think Solution 9 would be on emergency power mode, relaying all that energy to Necron. If anything, it's a missed opportunity.
Round and round we go.
One of far too many. The city shutting down completely would only cause further panic, which in turn would fuel only Necron. Also, to point out the obvious, why don't they just remove the regulators? That old guy did it earlier without any issue. If those not enthralled were to rip the devices off of people's heads, they could kill off the source of the primal summoning. This was a very easy solution that nobody tries. Add that to the list of stupidity we're forced to buy into. Overall, the strategy to wear us down was nice, but some added details to support this method, like the power requirements, would have driven it home. So 8 out of 10 for effort. And then, this happens. Of course, the furry had to get involved, making things all about her again. Granted, she doesn't do this alone. She gets backup from us, from Sphene, so while I would have much rather she not be here, this is still far better than 90% of 7.0 that was focused on giving her a never-ending handjob. Plus, she gets majorly messed up shattering the barrier, and we step up to finish things. I found it fucking hilarious how she was ostensibly presented as a vow of Mary Sue's, only for them to go full reversal and have her get critically injured. I'm not laughing because their attempts to make her the baddest bitch of all fell apart. I'm laughing because if they did things like this to begin with, as well as refrain from using her in every damn cutscene as both patches .2 and .3 have done, most of us wouldn't have had any issue with her to begin with. Behold! We are witnessing common sense characterization here. Compared to most everything else we have received over the last few years, this demonstrates superb awareness. Better late than never. Also, this only proves that Calyx is a moron when his pet Primal starts falling apart, thanks to a little pep talk from Sphene. You know, they confirm those with neo-regulators are tempered by Necron. Who knew all this time those corrupted by Primals just needed a resilient speech and they would have eased up a bit? Anyways, Calyx. He starts transferring his consciousness to another location to avoid, death. Which is only happening because, again, he led us right to his data core. You dumbass! You guys want to know how easy the solution was? Calyx? That impersonation you pulled when killing Geode was the answer to your problems. Pose as an Oblivion member and trick us into either giving up the key or revealing its location, making it easier to steal. There's no reason on God's green earth he didn't try this. Nobody else saw the switch up, so they likely wouldn't suspect it. Easy win that the villain ignored. For no reason! He also could have done this anytime. And we've already established he has no reason to be so smug after screwing up repeatedly. I cannot believe how mentally inept they had to make this guy just to give our heroes an edge. Voila. The machine is broken. The bad guy vanishes. Wook is dead. I wish. At least she's finally shut her trap, I'll take it. The day is saved. Calyx is gone. His control over the system has been vanquished. Those tempered will need some time to recover, but at least we have the ability to mend tempering. The people of Solution 9 learn to live with their fears, grow as people, good on them. And then, we get the longest, most boring, and unbearable ending to a story Final Fantasy XIV has produced to date. Mother of Satan, I hated this. I was annoyed by some things, sure, but there was enough entertaining moments that my experience wasn't completely soured. Then this half-fucking hour of cutscene after cutscene, it made me want to rush into traffic and meet my maker. I live on a rather busy street. That's tantamount to suicide.
Come on, please! Hurry, quick, just kill me, please! Hurry, it'll be fun! I'm a dick!
All this you're seeing on screen was us merely traveling to living memory, to reactivate the terminals, not to restore the endless, but to recover the memories that had been stored there, allowing the living to remember the dearly departed. Many of us suspected something like this would happen. Leaving a zone as visually stunning as living memory dead forever would be a tard move, even by Square standards. So yesh, we get living memory looking sexy again, just in time to backhand Wooklamon goodbye, ideally forever, and put this collaborative landfill behind us. Thank God. Oh, also, Sphene reprises her role as queen, because why not? Good for her. Now, give me knighthood status and a villa overlooking the whole city. We've earned that shit. Now, as for the ending, Calyx survived.
Oh, bullshit, dude!
Can't let us have anything, can you, Yoshi? I thought it was neat they let us finish him off. It finally took some focus off of Wook. Turns out they made us the fall guy for failing to kill him, so now we look like noobs. Dick move, guys. The anemic douche barely escaped, and he's visibly terrified. That doesn't stop him from making a generic bad guy monologue. What else is new? And then he gets a visitor.
Yes, I will give my report, as is protocol.
Oh my. Oh goodness. Oh gracious. The Ascians are back, everybody. This is where my griping comes into play. We all knew that, narratively, there were pockets of Ascians still out there. Several from the source remain unaccounted for, and their counterparts on the reflections. We don't know which this guy is, or if Calyx is a mere collaborator or an Ascian in disguise himself, given his cold indifference to others, and a desire to achieve a form of immortality, a status the ancients possessed. It's not out of the question. All of this is easy to digest. Here's my problem. Square was adamant in concluding the Hydaelyn arc with Endwalker, a game this channel has had no shortage of complaints about. It was sloppy, senseless, unsatisfying. Then Dawntrail came along and went out of its way to do nothing with itself. Vacation episode, my muscular ass. It was a filler episode, and a bad one at that. Only the interdimensional key holds any potential value. They rushed everything to a clumsy finish, and now a few years later, Square is brushing off those elements they themselves threw into the dustbin like garbage, because they don't have anything else to work with.
That's totally lame, and not at all surprising, which is also totally lame.
If they want to have the remaining Ascians make a resurgence, That's fine, but why the hell did we rush Endwalker just to double back like this? Where was the harm in giving it proper breathing room to wrap up while new material was being brainstormed? They did the same thing bringing Primal Summoning back. But that on its own wasn't bad. It's a wide-reaching concept, its inclusion changes little. The Ascians are a different story, and having them come back, as things stand now, does not bode well for our future prospects as gamers. Because now they need to explain where the Ascians have been, why nobody intervened with Fandaniel, why the Scions, knowing full well there would be more Ascians out there, haven't been investigating like they should be. They happily quit the issue before the job was even done, and none of them seem the least bit concerned. This will also need addressing. I do not have high hopes.
The short version is, we're boned.
That is what 7.2 and especially 7.3 was. It was damage control. Making sense out of the unsensible we were left with after 7.0 Dawntrail concluded. Why Fake Fiend and Zeral were utter morons. The origin of the key likely pointing towards being of Ascian, if not Amyrtine design. Why the clumsy assault on Tural, despite their vastly superior technology. Actually, that one hasn't been answered either. It was stupid. In fact, Calix's inclusion creates an additional question. Why the hell did he let Zeral keep the key after joining Alexandria? He was a mental nightmare. If the goal was complete fusion with another world to collect ether, Calix had the means to take it from Zeral anytime he wanted. Thus, the fusing and vast collections of ether should have come to pass ages ago. Maybe there's additional information to help with this. Maybe Calix doesn't know how to use the key to its full effect. That still doesn't explain why he let Zeral hold on to it. Calix's presence answers very little and raises more questions. And Dawntrail does not need more headaches. Square has spent the last year fixing this mess, and they only removed the top layer of dirt. Now they have only 2 patches to set up the next expansion. I can't even pretend to be curious. Like I said, the key remains the only intriguing plot element, and all anybody in-game and online can talk about is visiting the other reflections. We've already done that too. The 1st, the 13th, now the 9th. It's nothing new, and nothing new is all tomorrow promises us. But time will tell how that'll go. Maybe they'll come up with something awesome. I've been pleasantly surprised before. These, of course, are my thoughts. What about you guys? What did you like? What did you hate? What predictions do you have for the next expansion? Leave your thoughts down below, like the video, subscribe, and all that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then.